Some mornings I'd wake up already behind. Not late, just mentally 5 steps behind everything that needed me. The house was fine, my calendar looked normal, but my brain never stopped buzzing. It wasn't just stress, it was speed. I'd been moving fast for so long, I didn't even notice it anymore. At some point, that pace stopped working. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was snappy, distracted, and tired in a way that sleep didn't fix. What I needed wasn't more time. It was a new rhythm, one that didn't leave me feeling drained by noon. This video is about slow life in the real world, not the aesthetic version, the kind you can actually feel. I'll walk you through 7 practical habits that helped me shift out of survival mode and build a life that feels more peaceful, starting with how I reset my space, my phone habits, and even how I walk through my day. If you're feeling burnt out from the speed you're living at, you're not the only one. Let's talk about what might help. If you've ever felt wired but worn out, the kind of tired that no amount of rest seems to fix it, might not be your schedule. It might be your blood sugar. When you go too long without eating or rely on quick empty meals, your body starts borrowing energy by cranking up stress hormones. It keeps you going, but it quietly burns you out. You might look productive on the outside, crossing things off, keeping pace, but inside your system's stuck in survival mode. That's not calm, it's cortisol. One of the simplest shifts I made was eating on time real meals with enough protein, salt, and minerals. I stopped skipping breakfast. I started salting my food again. I paid attention to how long it had been since I last ate, not how busy I felt. You don't need a perfect diet. You need fuel that steadies you. Even something as small as pairing a boiled egg with fruit mid-morning or adding a pinch of sea salt to your water can help calm that anxious hum you've been calling focus. Especially in chaotic seasons, travel, moving, or family stress, this matters more, not less. If your body's starved, your peace won't hold. Let's move to another shift that made an even bigger difference, and this one starts with your phone. If the first thing your brain consumes in the morning is a screen, you're not waking up, you're plugging in. Most of us check our phones before we even sit up. We're not even fully conscious yet, but our nervous system is already reacting to news notifications, messages, someone else's highlight reel, or someone else's emergency. It doesn't feel like a big deal in the moment, but it's training your body to start the day in response mode, and that subtle shift can quietly shape your entire pace. Here's the problem: the internet runs at a speed your life can't. It's fast, crowded, demanding, and endless. And when your phone is the first and last thing you see each day, your mind gets wired for that kind of velocity, not rest, not peace, and definitely not clarity. It took me a long time to realize that I wasn't actually addicted to my phone. I was addicted to stimulation. I'd check it while waiting for water to boil, during every bathroom break, and in every lull in the day. Not because I needed to, but because my brain had forgotten how to be still. So I started simple. I moved my phone out of the bedroom. No overnight charging on the nightstand. No scrolling before sleep. I put it downstairs, far enough away that reaching for it required intention. And mornings changed. I woke up slower. I noticed the light in the kitchen. I made breakfast without a screen yelling at me. There wasn't an instant flood of other people's priorities shaping mine. Just 20 minutes of space, and it was enough to feel like I had control again. If keeping your phone out of your room sounds like too much, start smaller. Plug it in across the room. Turn on Do Not Disturb. Or delete just one app that pulls you in first thing. Because how you start your day isn't about productivity, it's about pacing. And if your pace is always set by something outside you, your peace never stands a chance. Next, let's talk about the hidden ways social media keeps you stuck in urgency and how to break that loop without cutting it out completely. It's easy to wake up and immediately invite noise into your brain: texts, headlines, notifications, group chats. But the first 30 minutes of your day have more influence than we think. When your brain is hit with that much information, before you've even had water or moved your body, it's like starting a marathon by sprinting uphill. You'll probably spend the rest of the day trying to catch your breath. A simple shift. Delay screen time for the first half hour after waking. No scrolling, no inbox. Just get up, stretch, open a window. Maybe start a small task, like putting on the kettle or making the bed. It gives your mind space to land before it gets pulled in 10 directions. This one habit doesn't take extra time. It just gives your attention a calmer place to start. Once you've carved out moments that are free from screens, the next step is reducing the grip they have on your time in the first place. And one of the fastest ways to do that is by removing social media from your phone. Not everyone resonates with journaling or silent walks. And that's okay. Slowing down isn't about following a set method, it's about reclaiming presence in whatever way makes sense for you. Sometimes the most powerful shift is simply choosing one small activity and doing it with full attention. It could be watering a few plants on your balcony, snipping fresh herbs from your windowsill, threading a needle, and sitting down to embroider again, not for productivity, just because it calms your breath. If you live with others, maybe it's cooking dinner, letting conversation unfold, even if it's quiet or light while you chop, stir, and plate food. There's something grounding about doing a physical task without rushing while feeling connected to yourself or someone else. You don't need to overhaul your routine. Just carve out one moment each day where you're not multitasking, you're not optimizing, you're just there. That's where slow living really begins. Now, once you've made space for that kind of presence, the next step is noticing what pulls you out of it. Let's be honest, most of us don't use social media anymore, we live inside it. And not because we want to, but because we've removed every boundary between ourselves and that feed. One swipe, one thumb movement, and suddenly you're somewhere else, not in your home, not in your body, not in your actual life. Just halfway through someone else's vacation photos, product launches, or parenting advice. And now, your own thoughts feel like noise. Here's the truth. Social media isn't bad, but unlimited access is. And the fastest way to reclaim your headspace is to take it off your phone. Not forever, just off the device that's with you in the bathroom at red lights while stirring a pot of soup. I run a business. I still need access, but I access it on purpose from my computer at my desk during a work block. It becomes a task with a clear start and stop. I'm not consuming while I fold laundry or doom scrolling in bed, pretending it's a break. When it's not on my phone, I forget about it, and that's the point. Because we've been tricked into thinking these platforms are part of everyday life. But they're not. They're a performance space, a sales channel, and an endless fire hose of information that your brain was never built to absorb at 6 a.m., 9 p.m., and 38 times in between. You don't need to delete everything. Just remove the urgency. That might mean logging out, moving the app to a hidden folder, or checking once a day but only on desktop. A 30-second pause between the urge and the action is often enough to remind you this isn't how you want to spend your energy. If you're constantly overwhelmed, scattered, or short-tempered, it might not be because your life is chaotic. It might be because your brain has no quiet corners left. Next, let's talk about what happens when you finally sit with that silence, and how journaling helped me hear what was underneath the noise. We talk a lot about decluttering rooms. But what about when it's your mind that's full? There are days when everything looks fine on the outside. The house is clean enough, the calendar's full, nothing dramatic is going on. But inside, you feel tense, short-fused, and strangely disconnected from yourself. You try to push through it. You drink more coffee, you clean something, you open a tab. But none of it touches what's really off. For me, that kind of mental pressure usually means something deeper hasn't been processed. Unsaid frustrations, delayed grief, quiet disappointments I've been ignoring for weeks because I've been too busy or too numb to deal with them. And that's where journaling became more than just a habit. It became a reset button. Not the aesthetic kind. No perfect pens. No daily prompts. Just a cheap notebook and 5 quiet minutes where I can dump whatever's spinning in my head. It's not for productivity. It's for clarity. Because until I get those thoughts out of my body and onto paper, they live in the background running the show without me realizing it. Journaling slows down your reaction time. It shows you what you're actually upset about, not the email, not the dishes, not the traffic. And when you see it clearly, you stop offloading it onto everything else. You don't need a routine. You need a place to offload what your brain keeps carrying. Start with one question. What am I avoiding right now? Then write whatever comes up without editing or fixing it. It's not about being deep. It's about being honest. That alone is enough to change the emotional tone of your entire day. Next, let's move into a physical shift that helped me when I felt mentally foggy but couldn't stop moving, and why walking without a phone became the most effective reset I didn't see coming. If you feel restless, foggy, or like you've been mentally pacing in circles all day, walk. But leave your phone at home. Most people think walking clears their head because of fresh air or exercise. But the real reason it works is because it's one of the last few things in life that doesn't involve a screen or a task. It's movement without input. That's why it works. That's why you need it. Think about it. When's the last time you let your body move without trying to optimize it? Not to burn calories, not to catch up on a podcast, just to step outside, move your feet, and not multitask. What happens is subtle but immediate. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing slows. Your brain starts untangling thoughts you didn't even know were looping. You begin noticing the weight you've been carrying, and sometimes that's all it takes to release it. If 30 minutes feels like too much, start with 10. Set a rule. No headphones, no texts. Just walk one lap around the block like it's a hard reset button. Because for overstimulated, overscheduled minds, it actually is. Next, let's talk about the one habit that forced me to stop rushing altogether, and why rest didn't work for me until I stopped treating it like a reward. Most of us don't need more productivity tips. We need a different pace. Slower mornings, fewer tabs open, clearer boundaries with the things that drain us. That's what actually shifts how life feels. If even one of these ideas helps you feel a little more in control or a little less overwhelmed, then that's already a win. Change doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. If this video gave you something useful, feel free to like or subscribe. It helps us keep making content that fits your real life, not the ideal one.